I'm all right. I am shattered, but I'm good.
Why are you shattered?
Busy DJing weekend.
Oh yeah, that's in my notes. So
Very. All the DJs dropped out yesterday, and I did 7 hours on my own.
What?
Oh,
why?
Because they just we opened at 7 and we shut at 12 on a Saturday, but yesterday they were like, "Oh, we're opening at 5." So yeah, and then Saturday everyone dropped out Sunday, so it was just me.
Fuck. Like, yeah. Good night though.
It was all right. Saturday was better, but
why was Saturday better? Because there are more people there,
and I had half an hour breaks every half an hour.
Because what? Because someone else took over, sort of thing.
Yeah, so I was just sat with Ollie and Martin and Nick, and then I'd have to do half an hour, and then I'd come back and sit down.
Nice. That is absolutely banging.
Yeah.
I saw the photos. I was a bit like, oh.
I think I saw at one point. I saw like 118 songs queued up or something.
Oh, that was last night. That was the total of what I had played, like at that point in the night.
Fuck.
What did it end on?
I'm just gonna have it now.
Amazing.
It was just long, and it was just a mix of everything, and I was just tired, and yeah, it was all right. Is this recording?
Yeah, the whole time.
Oh yeah, see.
Do we record everything?
No,
don't necessarily put it all out. I just like to record to make sure it's there.
It's real, yeah.
You might caption gold as well.
Yeah, no, yeah. It's good. I'm used to like pressing record and telling everyone what to do, and now I'm on the other side of it.
Yeah, you are. Are you ready to be absolutely destroyed and bombarded with questions?
I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
Excellent. How was your recording, by the way?
It was great fun, really great fun. We did we just interviewed a rockabilly band called the Strays from Gloucestershire.
Amazing.
Who I'm not really into that sort of music so much.
Yeah.
Like I can listen to it. It's obviously an offset of like the punk genre and the rock and roll genre, so I can listen to it. And they were really fun guys. They were really, really great.
Amazing. I listened to the John Wilden episode earlier and just laughing the whole time. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it was funny as shit. Really good.
Really good. The podcast is coming on strong, but we'll get to that, obviously.
We'll talk.
Absolutely. Jamie.
Yeah. I just do my little intro where I basically suck your dick verbally and then just throw the questions at you.
That's cool.
Nice that you threw that in.
It is kind of what it to do, really, you know. Right. Let's go. Ladies and gents, on today's show, we are talking to a man who is a poster boy for music fandom. By that, I don't mean a certain band or a genre, just music in general. He's used that passion to become a DJ, not only local clubs, pub levels, but also across the internet on Twitch and at music festivals, along with his podcast, The Gatefold Gateway. He's what I like to call an ambassador for the local Gloucestershire music scene, but more importantly, he's a very dear friend of ours. Welcome to USUK Chronicles, DJ Damo, aka Damo Batchelor.
Hello.
Hello.
Absolute pleasure to have you here.
Finally. You. Thank you for the intro.
You're welcome.
I wouldn't go poster boy. I'm not sure what that means, but
no, not me. I just thought it sounded good.
I'm not sure if I like it or not yet, but I'll take it.
I was more proud of ambassador for local music.
Ambassador, that's a good word.
I was liking that one.
Absolutely nailed that one. Dayman, how has the last year been for you, sir?
Honestly, awful. But it is what it is. I guess everyone's kind of like, maybe 70%, 50% of the UK population is in the same boat, and I guess it's kind of how you've used that time to get something out of it and to do what you want. Some people have obviously just sat at home. Some people have made use of the time really well. I'm kind of a bit in between. I think I could have done more, but I'm sure, as we'll come on to later, I've also learned a lot of new things which I'm really proud of. And we won't go into details, but some stuff has been a struggle, but some stuff's been really good. So it's kind of 50-50. I guess, it's all about how you use your time, and I've used my time okay.
Yeah, that's fair enough, man. I mean, you said that, people obviously either didn't use it as well as you thought you'd like to have done, but did you teach yourself anything new, or like a language, or did you learn a skill or anything?
Well, I didn't, definitely not a language, because I could barely speak English, but when we obviously left the country, got into an absolute shambles in March last year, and we come out of race week, and like most of my income, all of my income is working in a pub Monday to Friday, it's a pub, so it's Tuesday to Sunday. That's 90% of my income, and then I get a little bit extra for doing what I love doing, and that's playing music. And all of that was kind of taken away for a minute, and then furlough was announced. And Tom, a bit about furlough, and furlough came in, but obviously all of that music money, which I was, I loved doing it, and I wasn't necessarily doing it for the music, but it's nice to have a little bit of extra money on the side. And that was taken away. So the income was hit really hard. But so I guess stopping DJing really kind of threw me. And the first, April, May, were really, really tough, mentally. And what was I going to do? I've not sat in the house for more than a day. Like, I get out and I go places, and it was like, what can I do? And I guess like a lot of DJs and a lot of bands that are doing the same, that you just learn how you can put your skill out there and for people to enjoy, but on a different platform. And obviously that's where the internet comes in. So I'd seen some DJs using a program called Twitch, which is like, I think it's more known for like people doing video games and streaming games and stuff, but it's also an outlet for musicians, and like people can just go on there and record themselves playing their music. And there were also other DJs just doing it on Facebook and putting a speaker up to their phone up to a speaker. So I was like, I'm not about that life.
Because that must have sounded dreadful.
It did sound dreadful. And the reason I was really struggling is because I've not really taught myself anything to do on a computer since I was like in school. I've got basic knowledge of computers. I can run DJ software, I can run Spotify on a computer, and I can run Safari, which is all I need. So Twitch was kind of like, I need hardware and software. And with the help from a few wonderful people, it eventually got going. And so that was the first skill. So like, I'm sure we'll go into that. And that was one of the things. And then then we were back at work, and I was happy back at work, not DJing because of social distancing and restrictions, but I was still doing a bit of DJing on the weekend, which was good because it kept my hands in. And then the inevitable second lockdown hit in November, and I taught myself how to record a podcast, because I like talking. And just like good. We've all known each other for a long time, like very long time. And I guess the same as you two guys, like in our circle of friends, like it takes a certain sort of person with, a little bit of charisma, and to be able to do it. And I just felt like, as a DJ who likes getting on the microphone at a headphone disco, or when I used to work in Sainsbury's and I used to bar everyone from using the tannoy, it had to be me.
Those are the days.
Those are the days, and me and Jamie were, we put ourselves forward for anything to do in front of a camera in work, to not be doing the day job. It was like, can you do this? And it was like something different. Jamie was probably an inch behind me in second place going, I'll do it as well. And we'll take a video camera around the fucking car park of Sainsbury's and promote some fucking salmon in a silly accent for Gloucester Keys.
He's not even wrong.
I'm not even wrong. That's the actual truth. It's like, how can we make this
turkey ordering that's free? That will stick with me forever.
And me and Jamie were the go-to guys, because we didn't give a shit. but B, we have that skill set, which I'm not an actor. I'm not on television. I'm not paid for that, but in what they wanted, we could do it. And podcasting is the same, and you need a certain skill set to be able to hold a conversation and to keep it interesting. So that's kind of why I decided, I was like, I could do more DJing, but I really like talking to people, and I've missed talking to people. And the podcast thing, as you know, it keeps you chatting to people, and it's the best. It can be the best thing, and it can be a lifesaver, even if it's just for 40 minutes a week. It's just, and so I was like, I had to learn more software and get more hardware, and and it's just kind of developed from there. So spent a lot of money, but learned some stuff.
Yeah, but it's come good though, hasn't it? So obviously, because the podcast is flying, and like you said, we will get to it. But I mean, I remember last year, obviously, I was furloughed for pretty much the whole of 2020. And this was the only thing that saved me. I loved this. The only thing I lived for on a weekly basis was interviewing and doing the show with Jamie, and I absolutely loved it. So, I mean, just out of curiosity, I don't know if I've already asked this question. How did you guys meet? Was it Sainsbury's?
Me and Jamie did, yes.
Sainsbury's,
so I had a group of friends at Sainsbury's, and then a few of them left, and then Jamie joined, and I can't even remember what year it was. I think it was like 2004, 05.
I think it was about 2006 or 7.
Okay. And yeah, it's like, you know, when it's that whole like the Slayer meme is when you're in your Slayer t-shirt and you see somebody in the Slayer t-shirt, you just nod and you go, yeah. And it was kind of similar, like you don't, in Sainsbury's, like we didn't know who, we all got along, like everyone worked. It was great fun to be there, but I was like, you can only have a certain amount of like proper mates that you think, oh, they're good mates. And when I met Jamie, I just thought he's such a top dude. He loves obviously kick-ass music, which is what our group was about anyway, like my friends. And we used to do like rock band nights
I miss those
either mine or our friend Dan's house. And I think I said to our friend Dan, I was like, I've got a friend coming around, is that all right? He works at Sainsbury's with us, and Simon kind of knew him anyway. And yeah, we just kind of integrated him into the team. And yeah, a love of wrestling, music. Yeah. And it just went from there. It's kind of the same way as like most friendships develop, and, you know, you get them into your friendship group and they become just a natural part of a circle of friends.
Yes, because you are actually the reason why I know so many people. You are the main hub, and I met everyone I met through you.
Jamie Westwood included.
Yes, because I remember how I met you. I was so drunk. This is like 2007, I think, at Propaganda. You had a Mr. Kennedy t-shirt on, and I also had the exact same t-shirt.
Fucking Kennedy t-shirt.
One of the best t-shirts ever. One of the greatest wrestlers ever. We love that guy. I was fucked. And I walked into props. I think I've been there 2-3 minutes, and I spotted you with the same t-shirt on. I jumped on your back and just went in your ear. And I remember Katie at the time was like, who the fuck is this guy? And the rest is history. The rest is history.
Yeah. And like I said, wrestling was a big deal for us back then. Like,
yeah.
Jamie was a wrestling fan. We probably got chatting because we like music, but I think when you've got friends that are wrestling fans, then it's like that forbidden conversation you have, isn't it? And all of my friends were into wrestling and old school WWF, WWE, and it was so easy for him to come into our group, and then likewise when yourself, because what do you do? Fucking March comes around, you stay up and watch WrestleMania. And
right.
And prior to that, it was like we'll watch pay-per-views, and we stayed up for pay-per-views. And I've got pictures on my phone of Jamie falling asleep watching pay-per-views, and it's
every fucking time.
Every time. But
every time.
It's just part of the fun, isn't it? And we had traditions of going back for every WrestleMania. It was a big deal. And yeah, that's basically the best. It's how you meet your best friends, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite moments was in, is it the King's Head in Prestbury when Smitchy did the...
Unbelievable.
Was one of the best.
Unbelievable.
With that waiter.
Yeah.
I'm so glad it comes up on my Facebook memories once a year. It's not something I want to watch every day, but when I'm reminded of it, I'm instantly taken back to arguably one of the best events.
Yeah, and the Skittles incident is also another absolute highlight.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot.
There's a lot. Yeah.
There is a lot, and it's it's amazing to look back because obviously, like you talk about the last year, it's been difficult to make memories that you're going to look back on in a few years' time and go, oh, do you remember April in 2020 and what happened? We're not going to be able to do that. So for now, looking back at the best memories, it's got to be a positive way of thinking, right, when April 2022 hits, you've got to make opportunities to make some more of those great memories and have some of those good times.
Yeah, and hopefully getting ready for Trees and Download and Sonosphere and Latitude and God knows whatever else is coming out.
Well, yeah, because festivals is kind of a write-off again this year because of our shitty government, which, and I don't like to talk about politics. I'm not a politician, but yeah, they fucked us over. But hey ho, next year, like, we just go harder, and that's how it works.
As soon as social distance is over, everyone's gonna be out there naked partying for weeks.
Yeah, I'll be there.
No one's gonna go to work.
But like, even next year, it's like, let's fucking nail something down for WrestleMania. You know, let's just do an all day or all nighter. Go for a roast. Let's just kick it old school and
let's do it. Everyone back would be brilliant.
Because we've not been able to, and I think everyone, as much as it's nice to see people at the moment, briefly whilst you can and you're allowed, and the restrictions are slowly being lifted, and it's really cool. There's still something that's kind of missing, and
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, I'm enjoying what I've got at the moment, and I'm enjoying my time, and I'm enjoying being back at work and seeing friends. But it's just something.
It's not
just
quite
something.
right.
Yeah.
No.
But we'll get there.
We will. I suppose we should ask you some questions, really, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
Also, just before, Jamie, I just want to just publicly say, like, just thank you so much, just because anybody that's working in the, I know you've changed your career and you're working in the NHS now. And I think anybody that's part of that industry just deserves a fucking gold medal and a pay rise and not a fucking clap.
But I can't take credit. I haven't been there that long. But
no,
I know
exactly
but
what you're in there and you're on the firing line. And I think of all the negative stuff we've talked about and all the politicians and all the other shit, I think the NHS is just comes out as like the greatest thing in the UK.
Yeah, completely agree. Like I said, I saw the back end of it, and some of the things I've seen has been horrible. So the people that were there through the worst of it, I tip my fucking hat to them. I really
man, absolutely.
So anyway, take us back, my friend. Can you? Obviously, we said, like, in the intro, this passion for music. Can you remember where this came from, or is it something that's developed over the years? Like, you heard a record one day and you're like, that shit, I fucking love this, or is it just music? It's just been always part of your life. Yeah,
my dad. Without doubt. If you know my dad, you know what an absolute legend he is anyway.
Oh, yes.
Just every single time we got in the car and there was just something to listen to, because he loved music. He was in a band back in the day in the 60s, 70s. He was in a band, a big band, like in Haverfordwest, South Wales. He was in not like a band, but in like I can't remember the sort of band he was in, but it was like they just had loads of musicians, loads of instruments, and they played big venues, and he just played guitar. And we always had guitars in the house when we were younger, like me and my brother. And most days we would sit there and sing Beatles songs. And my dad would play guitar from probably when I was like 6, 7, maybe, at least until I was like 13, 14, and still going to school and trying to be cool. And then it was like, come back home, get the guitar out, Dad. Come on. I want to sing Let It Be. So the Beatles was huge. I'm not a massive Beatles fan now. I was, but then I've realized they weren't probably, I don't know if I should say this. I don't think they were as good as people made out. But back when that was what I was listening to, they were the greatest, and I loved them. And they were charismatic, and that influenced how I am, like watching John Lennon and Paul McCartney as just the most outgoing, fun band to be around at the time, and also the biggest band in the world, probably the biggest band ever. But my dad also had other tastes in music, like Dire Straits, REO Speedwagon. I got onto those bands, and yeah, I just had music drilled into me from day one. And my mum was a huge Elton John fan. She had Elton John records, old school Elton John, like great, good records, like Follow the Yellow Brick Road album. So music was always in my house. I had it on all the time.
It's funny you talk about the Beatles, because I was exactly the same when I was growing up with my dad as well. He'd play the Beatles record every day, I think, at least. And I was just love that. She loves you, yeah. I used to love that song all the time. And I Want to Hold Your Hand was always followed it.
You can't beat them. Like for pop amazing music. I don't know what genre you put them into. To me, they're just a pop band, and I do respect them. They're not a band I go back to very often, but I do have massive respect for them. And they are obviously, when we touched upon rock band earlier, the Beatles had their own edition of rock band.
Yeah, they did.
And it was like, can you sing harmonies like George Harrison and those guys? And like, no, you fucking can't. Like, no one can.
No one can, though.
They're masters of their craft, and say what you want about them, and they're just amazing. And that's what I grew up on. I grew up on the Beatles.
Incredible. But as we were saying with your music taste, it's so, like, what's the word I'm after here? It's so eclectic. That's the word I'm after.
Great word.
Yeah,
word, isn't it? You know, I've known you to listen to fucking Taylor Swift, then go put Devil Driver on, and then I've heard you mention Dua Lipa loads lately, and then,
obviously,
all over the fucking shop, like DMX, just names I'm pulling out the top of my hat. Do you reckon that comes from your dad, or is that over the years with different people you've spoken to and venues you played, etc., etc.? Where do you think that comes from?
I think it just comes from, I just wanted to explore music, and also growing up around, like, being in school, like in the mid-90s. I think I grew up in the best time for music anyway. And people will say the 90s was shit, or the 80s was shit, or whatever, but I grew up at a time when grunge was still about. So everyone liked Nirvana. Smells Like Teen Spirit was covered by every school band, like every band. It made me not want to like Nirvana. I also had friends that were into Green Day, and The Offspring was one of my favorite bands at the time. And going back to what my dad, I said, Dad, can I just have a tenner to go and buy Smash by The Offspring? It had just come out, and I played it in his work. And I was just like, everyone in his work, and I'm there, a skinny little kid, and I'm putting Smash on by The Offspring, and you're gonna like it. And then the new metal scene happened, and then and then pop music, just because it's so great. And I think DJing Propaganda all those years was just rock music. And then it wasn't until I got out of props and into spoons I started gaining this new respect for, like, pop artists. So the pop was kind of a bit later, and maybe 25-year-old me, drinking, would want to punch me in the face for, like, loving Taylor Swift and all those artists. But as you get older, and we speak about it on my podcast, it's like, is it a guilty pleasure? Well, it's not really, because you like it, and I've just embraced the whole pop culture, And
you don't feel guilty for liking it, do you?
Exactly. And we've changed our question from what's your guilty pleasure to, instead of asking that question, we ask what is a musician that people wouldn't associate you with. Because guilty pleasures is, I don't think it shouldn't exist.
No, completely.
It might 10, 15, 20 years ago when people were a bit different, it might have done. But now it shouldn't, because I can wear a Dua Lipa t-shirt out, and I've got a Dua Lipa t-shirt, and I've seen her live, and she is hands down one of the biggest artists in the world right now. And she just writes absolute bangers. And that's the reason why I like her music, because it is so good.
Yeah, it's fair enough. Can't say I blame him at all. So I suppose when you're a DJ as well, obviously you kind of need that differentiation in tastes of different musics, because otherwise if you're asked to play like R&B, for example, and you're like, well, it's shit, I don't really like it, you're not really going to pull it off, are you? Because obviously we're going to get into the DJ stuff now anyway, but I mean, like, you can't pigeonhole yourself into one genre, because then you can only play one certain venue rather than spreading out and playing all these different other places, because you start banging these bangers out. I remember I've been with you and you've played songs, gone, fuck, I forgot all about this. This is phenomenal. Like Tiny Temper and stuff like that. Like, absolutely incredible scenes. But how did DJing actually begin? Like, what made you go, I want to start smashing out bangers for people to dance to?
Wow. It is probably the time when me and Jamie were hanging out, actually, quite a lot. We were going to propaganda a little bit, and we were, I think, you were quite propaganda quite a lot, weren't you, Jay?
To start off with,
yeah. So we were going to props, a few of us. I was like, this is cool. And I'd been to, like, there was a proper metal night in Cheltenham, like industrial metal, and it was great, but it was like, it's just metal. And I was like, it was actually in Punana, and then it moved to another venue. And I was like, I do like metal music, but I can't listen to it all night. I really can't. They wouldn't play Green Day, and they wouldn't play Blink, and they wouldn't play Nirvana. It would just be like Rammstein, followed by Nine Inch Nails, followed by Sepultura, followed by, any heavy band.
Yeah.
So we started going to props, and it was a student night, and I was a little bit older than a student, but it was fine. But it was a proper student night. But we started going and started chatting to the DJ a bit, and he was like, I've got a night at the Night Owl as well. Come to that on a Friday. So we were going out Thursday and Friday, and we're going to the Night Owl and just chatting to the DJ. It's Clive, obviously, and it was back in the MySpace days.
Yeah.
And we all had MySpace. And I just messaged him on a whim, just thinking, mate, I said, I really like chatting to you. You're a cool guy. We're similar age. He's a little bit older, I think. And I was like, you're doing like 4 or 5 hours. Do you not ever want a break? Like, now knowing that I would never have a break in a 4-hour DJ. I was like, but I work at Sainsbury's and you get a quarter of an hour for 4 hours. It's true. Well, you did back then. You got to work 6 now. But I was like, if you ever, if I would love to do it. And he basically replied about an hour later, and I was like, I've got a message off Jinx on MySpace. And he just basically said, write out a set list for 45 minutes to an hour. Just write a set list. What would you play? And he went, he said, it sounds a bit silly me asking this, because I know you know what all the songs are anyway. But so I just wrote a set list of like bangers, like something you wouldn't do now, because you do need a few like in between tracks to kind of mix it up. But it was just like 20 stone cold dance floor mosh pit songs. And he was like, okay, put all those songs onto a couple of CDs and come to the Night Owl. I was like, you fucking what? And he just said, come to the Night Owl. And we made a bit, I can't remember if you were there, Jamie, or not, but we made a big deal out of it. Like me and Dan and all the lads, we were like, Damo's going to DJ at the Night Owl. Like, what the fuck's that about? And it just started there. And I was taught the basics, the absolute basics. Press play, use a slider, take the CD out, put the CD in, change the track number. Basic, very basic. And then as time progressed, it was like, oh, this is cue points and faders and, change the BPM. And I guess it was kind of like an internship. Like, okay. And then about a month later, he was like, do you want to do the first hour at Props on Thursday? And I was like, whoa, because Props was always rammed from the doors opening. Like there was no in between. There was no chill out 2 hours at the start of the night. It was the queue for when it was opening was down the end of the road. And
I remember these days.
And I was like, the first hour at Props to loads of people. And so I was like, I've got to change it a little bit. So I put in loads of different tracks, and he was like, that was good. And then he started letting me do the last hour. And I was like, all right, this is worrying. Because if you fuck it up, then you're like, it's the last hour, it's packed. Everyone's drunk, they want a good time. So I changed the set list a bit, put in what I wanted to play. And then, yeah, that's how it started. And then eventually, I don't know if I'm going too far, but
no, carry on.
Yeah, Clive moved on. I got my own room at Props. We did some festivals, and the rest is history.
When you had your own room, like those are the days back in the propaganda times. Like I lived for Thursday night.
Yeah,
just lived for it every week. Just loved every second of it. It was just perfect.
It was
when it was downstairs. When it was downstairs, and like it was you and Clive mixing it up and stuff. It was just phenomenal. And then when then you did downstairs by yourself, or they moved to the middle room at that point.
I used to do a couple because, Clive was just getting more gigs elsewhere, so I'd sometimes have to cover the whole night, which I was cool with doing, and it was great fun. Then it was like our friend Jack Higgins was in charge of Props.
Yes.
And he was like, so we're changing the format a little bit, and we want you to just do this bottom floor stuff on your own in the middle floor. And Clive's going to do pop, R&B, hip hop.
Yes.
So me and Clive were spending less time together, but we were in the same club playing music, and we were killing it, along with like John Weldon upstairs playing indie. It was, yeah, for a couple of years, it was really, really successful.
It was spot on.
So, can you remember the first set you did?
Yeah, I can. I've got pictures of it, and like I said, we made a bit of a big deal of it. We were pre-drinking probably at my house somewhere. And then it was just like, shit, I'm gonna do some DJing. This is weird. And it wasn't really DJing. It wasn't like mixing. I didn't know what I was fucking doing. I was just choosing the songs, and I was getting to play them myself.
I get what you're saying. It's not really DJing, but I remember I covered for you one time. And I think
in the pigs.
Yeah. And it's fucking nerve-wracking as hell.
Yeah.
Because, especially for the first time, because you don't know what sort of music or songs the audience is going to appreciate. And it was that night I went, okay, this is fucking harder than it looks.
Yeah.
It's like, do you have things or actions that you sort of look out for in a crowd that you're like, this isn't working, I need to mix this up, it's not going down right tonight? Or do you've got the songs you want and you fucking go for it?
I'm gonna sound a little bit big-headed here, but amongst the DJs that I DJ with, like John Weldon and Clive, two of my closest friends, they have both told me on numerous occasions that, or I'm not the best DJ. I hold my hands up to that every single time. I know what I'm doing, and I can do it, and I can pull it off. I'm not technically gifted. I can't DJ on vinyl. There are millions and millions of DJs that do it better than me. But they will both tell me that my biggest skill when I'm DJing is I know exactly what to play and when to play it. And I don't know why. Obviously, it probably just goes to my love of all types of music. I can just find a song. If I'm stuck, I'll have a go-to song, and I know it'll work. and then you go from there. So one or two might not work. And as a DJ, you've got to be prepared for that. You've got to be prepared to think not every single song you're going to play that night is going to go down really, really well. It's just, if something's not going down well, what is it you're going to play next to bring it back?
Because you can't exactly stop the song halfway through and go, sorry, folks.
You just gotta ride it. And then you just gotta make sure the next one works. And for whatever reason, that's one of my biggest skills as, you know, a DJ that's played massive venues, and I've got a longevity that's just lasted. And it's probably because of that. So I don't, you know, like, again, it's not to sound big-headed, but if I play a stinker, the next one I'll follow up with will usually help me out a little bit.
It's good at reading the room.
Yeah. And, you know, I do take requests. I love talking to punters. Like, if people in spoons are coming up to me, yeah, it's a bit annoying if you're in the middle of like doing a mix, but I do love talking to people. And it just goes back to what we were talking about at the start. It's like, I'm quite a chatty person, and if some drunk 50-year-old woman comes up to me in spoons, I'll chat to her and I'll play a song, because I'm sometimes, you know, that's what they want. And if you make everyone happy, then you'll be all right.
Does it ever fuck you off though? And people come up and they're like, "So how'd you do it?" And they stand the booth with you and start like, you're like, "Do you mind? I'm trying to, you know,
get away."
Yeah,
yeah. Like, I know it's a bugbear for a lot of DJs, and yeah, for everyone, it's like, can I ever go? Can I plug my phone in? Will you play this song off YouTube? And
what?
No, it's yeah. Can I put my phone into your computer and you can play this off YouTube? It happens. Like, people are idiots, but for every idiot, you get someone that's a bit more respectful, and they will ask for a genuine song, and they will come and thank you for what you're doing. And you just take the good with the bad.
You're going to be fucking an absolute hero once all this lockdown starts to fuck off for you. Everyone is going to be loving it. Like we said earlier, everyone's going to be outside naked partying. So
I'll soundtrack it. It's all right.
So how did the festivals happen then? So you're DJing clubs and stuff. Like, how did you manage to make it up to the next level?
Well, again, Clive was a big factor with that for the first part. And then with the second part, it was a guy called Jim Lockie. But to explain the first part, Clive was working for a headphone company. And he just rang me one morning and was like, "Are you going to download?" And I was like, "Nah, probably not." And I was like, I'm not really into like massive festivals. I love festivals, but it was just like, I'm a bit older. I can't really do that anymore. And he was like, "Do you want to DJ a download?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Oh, okay. So this is the deal." I won't talk about figures and money, but he was like, "This is the deal. We're going Friday morning. You're going to DJ Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 6 hours." And yeah. And I was like, "We get to see the bands in the day?" "Yeah." "We're camping VIP?" "Yeah." "Let's do it." I was naive. I was a bit naive because I'd never done festivals, but I just said, yeah. I want to do it. It's something you can't turn down. So we did download. The first year, it was amazing. It was so good. And I don't know if this is where your question is coming on to, but for the second year, Tom. But yeah, so the first year was amazing. It was literally, I had the time of my life. And then I got invited back the second year. And I was a bit more savvy to what was going on. And probably against my better judgment, I took the piss a little bit. Which is quite hard to admit, but, you know, I messed up. And Tom knows the story.
Oh, yes, I do.
But I got away. It was fine. And it was, you know, war under the bridge. And, but doing download was absolutely amazing. And I did the same slots again, 3 hours. Didn't get to see any headliners. But it was just amazing. It was just, download. It changed my opinion of a big festival. We used to go to Reading all the time, obviously. And you came with us, Jay. And We used to just do Reading as youngsters because it was the greatest festival in the world, and I could run around all day and drink all day for 4 days, and I could. I can't so much now, and I didn't think I'd be able to do it download, but it worked all right, and it changed my opinion that a big festival doesn't have to be like Reading, because download is 20 times and like better in how it's run. The space and the setup is just phenomenal. Reading are obviously up in their game this year, and because of COVID, and they're changing the layout of the festival to have 2 bigger stages instead of 1. But Download have been doing that for years. Like Download have had 2 massive outdoor stages for years. It works amazing, and I was so impressed.
It's a shame that Download have lost this with a Download, isn't it? Next year.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's
fuck you, COVID, you piece of shit.
COVID. Still got Kiss though, it's fine.
Still got Kiss.
Oh yeah,
and Deftones, but that's cool. Yeah, and then so the 3rd year for Download, I wasn't invited back, which was fine. I was like, I'm okay with that. I was like, I know I did wrong, and I was in the Frog and Fiddle, and I was talking to a guy called Jim Lockie, who's a fabulous singer, and his band is amazing, and he probably won't see this, but he's such a good dude. And we were just chatting. He was like, so you're DJing Trees this year? And I was like, no, I've never DJed 2000 Trees. He was like, why? I was like, because it's 2000 Trees and it's amazing. And it's like, for me at the time, I know I'd done Download, but 2000 Trees was the pinnacle. It's like my favorite festival in the world. I absolutely adore it. The people that run it are amazing, and I've met a few of them. It's just the greatest festival to exist. And I know it might sound like I'm blowing smoke at their asses, but it's in fucking Cheltenham. It's 10 minutes from my house. It's mind blowing it blows my mind that festival is so close. And the bands that I get to see and the friends I get to see, it's like my ultimate, dream.
Yeah.
So they were like, you've got a DJ. And I was like, how do I go about that? And he was just like, just leave it with me. And then 2 days later, I got an email from the Silent Disco company, which wasn't the same company as I did for Download. And they were like, yeah, do you want to come and do a set? And I'm like, what? And it was the same moment. I was in exactly the same mind space as when Clive said, do you want to play the night out? It was exactly the same. Like Download, I was like, okay, I would love to do it, and I'll do it, and I know I can do it. 2000 Trees was different. I felt so different when I got asked to do Trees. That was like, fuck,
like a dream come true,
unbelievable. And they were like, yeah, we need you to do. I can't even remember. It's a 4-hour set. It's in the cave, and I was like, in the cave, which is, if you've not been to 2000 Trees, the cave is like the second stage, and it's big. It's a small festival second stage. But the bands that have played on that stage, like the Wonder Years, While She Sleeps, like all those bands have played that stage. That it's the heaviest stage, and they're like, we want you to do a rock set in the second stage. And they said, we can't pay you, but we'll reimburse your ticket money. And I was like, that's fucking perfect. I was like, I would do this for free. Like, I would do it for free. And I did it, and the organizer came on the stage, and he was like, whoa, and he couldn't believe it. It was going off, and I was DJing with John Weldon on the other channel, and it was just the greatest night. It was, I had a moment whilst I was on stage. I kind of broke down a little bit, and I cried for about a minute away from the stage. So I pressed play on a song, and I had to walk off because I was just so overwhelmed with what was going on. And I know it doesn't sound much, because there's probably only like 1,000 people in there in that tent, but it's a festival I've been going to for a long, long time, and it meant the world to me to be there and to play. And also, it's like at Download and Reading, all the people there are not your friends, but at Trees, there's a lot of people there are your mates and they're rooting for you. Like when I go and see a friend's band play Trees, I'm rooting for them. And it just felt like at that time they were rooting for me. And it was something I've never experienced before.
Incredible. It's like a proper dream come true moment, but you say it's not very big,
Real.
but for you, that's fucking massive.
And I've seen Clive DJ there before. I went with Clive a few times. The first time I went was with Clive, and he got me a VIP pass, and he was DJing. And then, but I'd never really thought about it. I was like, it's not going to happen because John Weldon DJs there every year, and he's the Don. There's other great DJs there, and yeah, to be asked to play there was amazing, and I did really well. And then the Silent Disco Company were like, well, you're part of our roster now and you've got to go to other festivals. So that's how Reading happened.
That's what I was just about to ask you.
Yeah.
Because I thought that was a propaganda. Was that not a propaganda?
Sorry, what was that?
Was Reading not with propaganda?
So no, Reading wasn't with propaganda. Reading, yeah, I did the second year at Trees, and then they said, would you like to do Reading? And I was like, wow, Jamie knows my history with Reading, and going every single year from 2000 to 2010, I went every year. Yeah. It was a big fucking deal. And I said to myself in 2011, which was the first year I went to Trees, I was like, A, I'm never going to a big festival ever again because Trees was so good. And B, I'm never fucking going to Reading again because that place is huge and it's ridiculous and I can't cope with it. And then they said, do you want to DJ Reading?
Go back on what I just said.
Fucking want to DJ Reading. And that was because they knew that it wasn't as a rock DJ. It was more of what I do on a Saturday in Spoons, which is R&B, hip hop, pop music, drum and bass, all that stuff. And they were like, just come and do it. So I was actually on the same channel as John Weldon. We were doing our slots on and off. We spent the whole weekend there. It was unreal. And we were DJing, I say against, it's not against, they're on another channel. And if you've not been to a headphone disco, you get a pair of headphones and you can choose which DJ you listen to. And there's no loud music. It's just all three headphones. So all the DJs can hear is just singing. And it is literally the greatest experience. The first time I ever did it, a download it blew my mind. And Reading was like, you got the propaganda DJs on one channel and me and John Weldon on this channel. And that weekend was just ridiculous. Like, we drank a lot, we partied a lot, but we absolutely smashed it every night. And the propaganda DJs were so good as well. And there were 6,000 people in that tent. It's the biggest amount of people I've ever played to. There's an amazing video on YouTube. If you search for Propaganda Reading Festival 2018, I think it was 2018 I played. Yeah, 2018, Silent Disco Propaganda. And if you search for it, and Propaganda did an amazing promo video for it. And you can literally just see me and John on stage, like just going for it. And the amount of people in that tent was just unreal. Unreal.
Can you remember walking out and seeing that many people?
Yeah. I mean, we obviously had to set up anyway. And I was just thinking, this is big, isn't it? John was like, it's a lot bigger than Trees. I mean, Trees is like 1,000 people in the tent. This is like 5-6 times bigger. We reckon there was like 6,000 people in there. So that would have been nearly 20,000 people we played to over the weekend.
Yeah, when you work it out, yeah, fuck.
When you work it out. And obviously people come in and out. So it might have been more than 20,000 in total that got to go into that Sun Disco tent, which is ridiculous when you think about it.
It's a lot of headphones.
Over 3 nights. Oh, yeah, just over 3 nights. And yeah, 20,000 plus probably went through that tent and heard me and John on that channel.
That's incredible. Are you talking to people as well, like doing the deal? Is it literally just tunes?
No, I'm massive on the microphone.
I know you are normally. I weren't sure if you were doing that.
But the thing about the silent disco is because they've only got the headphones to kind of get them into a vibe, and you're kind of doing battle with the other channel, but you're not, because you want to kind of like make it just a great night for everybody. There's so much hype. Like the microphone is like stuck in my hand. Like, just get like, go, people on channel A, let's go, come on. And they're like, oh my God, it's us. And they go for it. And they absolutely go for it. And honestly, if any point of any song and you go, people on channel A, let me hear you scream. And then you listen, and then all you can is, and it's mad.
That's
because
so cool.
But yeah, it goes back to it before, like a silent disco DJ wouldn't work if you're not a microphone person. It wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's not the same experience, which is why I guess for me it works perfectly, because I do like to have a bit of a chat.
Yeah.
Sometimes, not supposed to, but there is a club that I play that don't really like you being on the microphone, but at headphone disco, you have to have that microphone permanently in your hand.
Otherwise, you might as well just be listening to Spotify.
Yeah, because you're not there to see a DJ, you're there to party with your friends, but you still want some interaction.
Yeah.
And so headphone discos is all about how you are with the crowd as well. It's a massive part.
So when it comes to preparing a set and whatnot, is it a different approach you'd take doing the festivals than you would play in a club, or is it pretty much the same?
It was, I think the first time I did Reading, it was going to be a different approach until I realised a lot of the stuff that I played on a Saturday in Spoons would work perfectly anyway. And I thought, oh, what can we do? And then just play Beyonce, and it's fine. And people still want to go hard to the big R&B songs, the big hip hop songs. It's exactly the same. The youngsters at Reading, like it's a young crowd now. It's like it's traditionally now a post GCSE, post A-level crowd. End of, you get your results and it's the end of August. It's the last party of the summer. The crowd is so different now. When we used to go as kids paying to get in, it was a rock and metal festival. Reading was a rock festival. Slayer playing, Metallica, that was what it was. It was big metal bands, a pop stage, not a pop stage, a pop punk stage, and hardcore music, not hardcore like happy hardcore, like hardcore punk and metal. That was all the music there. Occasionally, they would book 50 Cent or the Rasmus and try and mix it up, and it didn't work. But it got to the point with Reading where they just went from, we're not booking those bands anymore. We are going the total opposite end of the scale. We're going to make the festival bigger. It's going to be a GCSE A-level thing. And it's now Post Malone, big indie bands are massive at Reading, Arctic Monkeys, who I love anyway. But I saw Dua Lipa at Reading on the main stage. Now, 10 years ago, that sort of artist wouldn't have been playing that festival. But now there's a lot of like artists in that genre or in that mold that are playing that festival, and they are high up on the stages. They're headlining. And if you look at the festival, which is but this year, I mean, Queens of the Stone Age are headlining, but the other headliners and the other big artists are either indie or pop. And there's not a lot of rock and metal about. There is UK rock, like Yumi at Six fall into that sort of category, but there's no like Slayer wouldn't be playing there anymore. I mean, I know they've stopped, but they wouldn't be booked for that festival anymore. They wouldn't go near it. They wouldn't be booking heavy bands for the main stage like they used to.
Just going back to the club scene a second, because obviously there's not a lot of alternative venues anymore, especially with like small towns like Cheltenham, because obviously you used to have the Pigs, you had Props, and you had the Night Owl. Now you've got the Pigs and potentially the Frog. But I know the Frog don't really do a lot of DJ sets, so they have more like bands and stuff
Yeah,
like that. But so I suppose going back to the music taste and everything, you had to sort of adapt anyway.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you'd have been pigeonholed to one place. And there's obviously quite a few DJs that DJ there anyway.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that, because when I was in the Pigs on Saturday night and I was talking to Charlie Glover, who's a young up-and-coming DJ in Cheltenham. He's been in the scene for a couple of years. He went through exactly the same way that I went. Clive picked him up and Clive taught him how to do it, and he's got his own nights now. And he said to me, like, am I missing a trick? Because you grew up on metal and punk and stuff, and now you DJ what I'm DJing, but he's not got that string to his bow. But it's not necessarily that important anymore. Like, you are right. Like, back in the day, there was alternative clubs all over the place.
Yeah.
It might be different in other towns. Like, you're in Birmingham, Jay. We've been to clubs in Birmingham where there's alternative music and the scene's a bit different. But in Cheltenham, yeah, it's just, I mean, even the clubs in Gloucester, like Crackers, that used to be a big rock night, they're not there anymore. So I was just happy to be DJing somewhere else that wasn't props when I got asked to do spoons. And I kind of had a certain amount of knowledge of what to play there anyway, because I was working there on a Saturday night behind the bar. So I knew the sort of stuff that the DJ would be playing. I knew the music. It was just pulling it all together. And then once you do that, and I was playing same artists every week, but I was just growing an appreciation for that sort of music. And like you said, when you mentioned Tiny Temper earlier, it's like, that's a banger.
Written
We know it is.
Yeah, it's huge.
We know it's a banger. We know Sia songs are huge and people sing along to it. And it's, for me, yeah, it was just about trying to open my horizon of what was out there. And it did that, and it worked to an absolute treat. Because if I wasn't doing Weatherspoons on a Saturday night, I would definitely not have been able to get away with doing Reading. I'd have been like a duck in headlights. I'd had no chance.
Duck in headlights alive.
I'd have just been like, no, not for me, because I don't know any of the music. It took me a few years to, get not so much a reputation, but just to feel comfortable playing music that I wouldn't normally necessarily listen to at home.
Nice.
Oh. I meant to ask earlier, I just realised you were saying like you grew up playing, your dad playing guitar and you singing along and whatnot. Did you never want to learn to play an instrument?
I just couldn't. I couldn't get around it. My dad really tried. Still sick at Rock Bad Mind.
I've heard you blast out some Devil Driver vocals. I know they're chords there.
I can press that blue and red button like no one else. But when it comes to musical instrument, I guess I just never got a grit to it. I just couldn't do it. I don't know why. I still think I'd like to learn maybe bass or something. But I don't know. Time consuming. Maybe my fingers aren't right. I don't know. I would love to be able to play guitar, but I think it comes back to like when I mentioned about like doing DJ sets online. You want to do it right, and you don't want to put out a shit product. And I think with guitar, and I just give up pretty quickly because I just could not do it. And I'm like, if anyone ever tries to hear me play this, then like, no.
So I said in the intro, you're somewhat of an advocate for the local music scene.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know, to my knowledge, at least 2 local bands that you've got tattoos of. That shows how much you love that shit.
Yeah.
How did you first discover how much local talent there was? Because the amount of bands I've seen you list off in the local scene is ridiculous.
Well, we were always going to Spun shows and 4 Foot Finger shows in Cheltenham. I spoke about it with one of the lads on the podcast that I do. Like, he was going to 4 Foot Finger shows when he was 16. It was 15 or 14 or overs at Branson's or other places like that. And yeah, I just loved going to local shows because I've always gone to gigs. I used to travel with my mates from school. We would go to Cardiff every other weekend to see, Ash or Reef or, you know, in the late 90s, early 2000s, whatever bands were about. And we got into the Welsh scene a lot more because we were there a lot, and we saw all the bands there. You know, Funeral for a Friend a bit later on. The band we won't mention were, I used to love going to see them. We saw them like 30 to 50 times, like in little venues in Cardiff. All those bands, we just went to Cardiff most weekends to see bands playing in Barfly or Club Eiffel Back or the Uni. And then, yeah, I guess it wasn't until like later on that I started just going to out in Cheltenham a bit more and going to the gigs in Cheltenham. And I was DJing a little bit as well. I think it was around then. And some of the guys in the bands I'd met whilst I was at Propaganda. So it was kind of an easy transition to be like, are you come see our band? And it was like, yeah, I'll come see your band. Are you coming out Thursday to see me play? And it was kind of like that. And also one of the girls I worked with in the Bankhouse, Liv, she was in a band as well. So I would go out and see her band, see support bands, and then you just meet friends. You know, you just become friends with these guys because you're there a lot, and friends with like Ollie Roylance, who was, you know, obviously his job stopped at lockdown, but he's putting on bands every fucking day. There was always something to go and see at the Frog. Before that, there was always something to go and see at the Pigs. Tom's band played at the Pigs in like the height of when bands were playing there every fucking day. The posters were like massive. So I just loved going to shows, and became really, really good friends with a lot of the people in those bands.
Are you looking forward to them coming back?
Obviously I am, yeah. I mean, I've missed local shows. I'm a massive, massive fan of a band called Hold in Absence. And Ollie put them on before their debut come out. And they just blown up. And there was like 30 people in the Frog watching Hold in Absence. And now if they play anywhere, it sells out.
I listened to their new album today. Mate.
I know.
Absolute masterpiece. It's unbelievable. Every song is so catchy from start to finish.
And
they're
just so good. And when they played the Frog, they didn't have anything out. I just went because I was like, I'd heard of them and I knew the singer has got like he's got a Joe Green voice.
Yeah, he does.
And honestly, I said to Joe the other day, I was like, you're now not the guy. Obviously he is the guy. Like, we know he's the guy. But this guy from Hold in Absence has got a fucking pair of lungs, man. And I went to see him on the back of the reputation that he had as a live singer. And there was, I don't remember it being busy. I just remember it being an amazing like half an hour set that they played. And then anything they released, I just wanted. But that's a band that from Wales that have just managed to catch a bit of success, which is amazing for them. But there are other bands in Cheltenham that are talented and so good. I mean, I said Jim Lockie and the Solemn Sun, amazingly talented band. I just can't speak highly enough of them. And we all know how I feel about Empire and about Joe Green. 5 guys who like 3 of the guys in that band are still really good friends of mine. And Joe and me, Joe obviously does the podcast with me. I wouldn't have wanted anybody else to do it with me because he's the fucking greatest.
He is a wonderful human being. Obviously, he's been on the show before. So,
and he's just, like I used to go and see his and Ben's band, The Divine Secret, when they were playing and touring in Cheltenham and playing all the venues. Then Joe got me onto his new band, the Me's, and I took my dad to see him at the St. Paul's Tavern. I took my dad to see Empire at the Pigs. Like, it's just, whatever he touches is amazing. It's just, it's a shame that they've not ever really, he's not stellar, because I thought with Empire he was going to go big, and it kind of, but still an amazing band. Still love listening to that record.
Amazing.
Jamie, you need to listen to Hold an Absence, Jamie. Listen to their new
Yeah,
album.
I'll check them out after.
It's unbelievable.
To be fair, I keep doing this. You keep telling me to listen to someone, and about 6 months later, I'll remember. And I'll be like, I really should have listened to that sooner. That was really good.
He did. Day, where he only sent us to Bury Tomorrow about a month ago. Now absolutely loves them.
So you'll come into that show on my birthday then?
Yeah.
When are they?
Bury Tomorrow in Bristol.
Yeah. Is it Bristol?
November 21st. You're in.
I might try and go to that.
I can't wait.
So, as we talk about local bands and whatnot, you've got ears from all around the world listening. Is there like 3 or 4 bands that you think people should definitely go and fucking check out from the local scene?
Well, I would really love. I mean, obviously, Empire were a favourite of mine just because they were really good friends, and I got to see them the same year. The year I DJ'd at Download, they played Download. So I think it's fair to say they were quite a big band anyway. But they're obviously not active. But I'd still suggest that people go and check out Deaf as a Girl. They're on Spotify. They've got an EP. I went to the first couple of shows they did. I went up to Birmingham. Either Lion, another three lads, really, really good friends of mine. I love them all to pieces. Biffy Clyro kind of vibe. Super talented. Again, will they ever get massive? It's doubtful, but I still think they deserve people's time. I still think people should be able to go, well, I've listened to them and I can give you an opinion. I think they're brilliant. And the other band, I'm not sure if I mentioned them earlier. No, I mentioned it on the podcast earlier. So yeah, I've not mentioned them on this one. Is a band from Swindon called All Is a Vow. And they're just ridiculously good. They're super, super talented. They are amazing at the whole social media side. They just started a TikTok account, for fuck's sake. But they're on the ball with everything they're doing. And I just think they're great. They're a pop punk, band with synths and pianos, and they just sound fucking amazing. And they make me so happy when I watch them live. And they are 4 genuinely wonderful people.
Amazing.
Yeah, similar vein to kind of Paramore, because Claire's the front woman of the band. She's just got a fucking great voice. So yeah, those bands definitely. But I'd also like to promote a band called Down Not Out. They're a local band. I didn't really know much about them, and then we interviewed Joe, the singer, for our podcast, and I played one of their songs at the Two Pigs over the weekend, and it just went down really, really well, and I loved it, and I loved their EP and their album. So they're another band to check out as well.
That's the point. Has like members of the band been in the room when you've played their songs? Because I know you've played local bands when you're playing the song.
Yeah, so one of the other girls from the band, Down Not Out, was actually in the Pigs on Saturday night, and me and Sam, the other DJ, spotted her, and I was like, I interviewed the singer the other day. So I texted the singer and I was like, I'm playing your song, and she was like, yeah, I know. My bandmates just sent me a video of her dancing around to it. So I love playing local bands. Like it goes back to that whole, like, I love going to see their bands. I'll play them, and that's why I get on well with people, because I can't do it. I can't play a guitar. I can't do what they're doing. I can stand there for 6 hours and play other people's music, but I can't stand there for 40 minutes and play my own. And at Trees especially, like there's a band called Bar Fight who they're like a hardcore band. Then the music is like, not a lot of bands like that play at Trees, but I still fucking throw down their song. It's like a 2-minute like heavy quick banger, and they're just like, you played our song again, this is ridiculous. And I play All Is a Vow, I've played Empire at Trees, I played the Me's at Download just because I could.
And that's why you're an ambassador for local music.
Because I knew Joe was there, and I was like, I'm going to play Me's, and I know people aren't going to dance to it, and I know they don't know it, but at least they'll have heard it.
And you're in charge, so who gives a shit?
So yeah, my rules.
So you've mentioned it quite a fair bit, and I think it's only fair that we get to it. Your podcast, the Gatefold Gateway. How
is that what it's called, Jamie?
Yeah. Did I say it wrong?
Apparently you have on occasion before.
Yeah,
Gateway,
I get
Gatefold, yeah.
I get it mixed up all the fucking time. I thought I got it right this time. I even double checked when I was writing my notes.
You did. I was just sorry. I'm sorry.
When I was writing my notes, I was like, I have got that right around this time, haven't I?
Cool. Yes.
Gatefold Gateway. How did that become? How was it born?
So, yeah, like October last year, I was like, well, for the last 2 years, I guess, I've been listening to a podcast every single week called Sappening. And it's the singer from The Blackout, who were a big Welsh band in that scene, guy called Sean Smith. And he does a podcast called Sappening with another guy called Morgan, who's a music journalist from South Wales. And they interview musicians, and they interview like
top dog musicians.
And I'm like, not like Dave Grohl, but Charlie Simpson, Winston from Parkway Drive. They've had Newfound Glory on there. John Feldman from Goldfinger. They get great people on their podcast and people that I want to listen to. Like the guy from Parkway Drive, I was like, I want to listen to what he's saying because I fucking love Parkway Drive. I know that we can't necessarily do that, but I was like, I really want to chat to musicians, but I don't want to steal their idea and talk about them. Like, this is what you guys do. You're talking about your guest. I was like, I just want to talk about music. I just want to talk about records because I fucking love records. I'm a huge vinyl collector. I don't listen to singles. I want the whole work. And so I was like, I really want to do something because I'm going to be bored during lockdown and I know it's coming. So I thought a podcast would be a way of doing it. So I got in touch with Joe and we chatted about it. And I said, look, I think we could do it. And Joe knows a lot of people. Like I say, I know a few. Joe knows everyone. Like he knows people. And I was like, if we do it together, you could get some cool people. I can get a few cool people. And maybe we could just do like a desert island disc sort of thing where you just not your top 5 albums, but we'll come up with some questions and we'll just chat about bands. And he was super keen from the start. I had the name in my head because obviously being a vinyl collector, I've got Gatefold vinyls. And I was like, Gateway, where did you start your musical career? Like, what was the first record you bought? And so it's like a Gatefold Gateway into people's like musical history through albums that they love.
It's a very clever name. It's a great name.
And I come up with it. And I was so, I was like, that's pretty good. And like I said, I had to learn how to do it. I reached out to you guys because you were doing yours. And I was like, okay, you probably know some stuff. Like, I mean, it's basic what I do. You're doing it exactly the same way as I do it on a Zoom call. Yeah. There's not really many other ways you can go about it.
At the moment, anyway.
At the moment. And I was just said to Joe, I was like, let's start booking. And we did like 10 interviews. And then I had to learn. I spoke to Jamie about like, how do you put it out there? So yeah, I was just like learning more software, more programs. And it was all right. I enjoyed it and learned how to do like editing, not massive amounts, but enough to make an episode. And then, yeah, we just recorded with James, who was in Empire. We did 2 recordings of that episode. We sat down and had a few beers and we just did a mock one of how it would go. And then 2 days later, we were back on a Zoom call. We recorded it. I didn't even know Zoom could record. Zoom became popular when lockdown happened, didn't it?
Yes.
Absolutely. Companies were like, we need that. And Zoom now is like, must be worth the same as Spotify. But they found a niche in the market that every single company needs because you can't go to work. So I didn't realize you could record. I said to Jamie, I was like, and all the sound comes through. And he's like, yeah, it's fine. And I was like, this is so weird. And so we did it. And I was like, "What? How do you like edit bits? Like if someone says inappropriate things?" I was like, "Oh, well, I use this software. It's free." And I downloaded that software, and I've taught myself how to do the very basics.
Amazing.
That's all I know how to do on there.
Yeah, and I don't care about like the fade in and fade out and all that jazz. I just, I've done a podcast with Joe with somebody, and we had to cut 20 minutes out because it was inappropriate, but we had a laugh about it, and no one will ever hear it. I deleted it, but it was amazing. I was like, we've just put an episode. I've got an episode on Spotify. I can go on Spotify, and my podcast is there. It's so weird. And I was like, I still can't fathom it. And I was like, it's on Apple Podcasts as well. Yeah, we've not got around to the whole YouTube thing, and Joe's not very keen for that, and we're not really going to go that way. I know you guys do, and it's amazing. It's what works for you. You guys got like lots of graphics, very visual. We're not. I'm not a very graphic kind of person. I can't do design. I can't draw. If you ask me to draw a man, it'll be a stick man. I have no graphic, skill whatsoever.
So we get the house with the tree and the little in the corner.
I can draw a bit of a path and a window, and I might draw a cross in the window to show
panes of glass. Yeah.
I thought I was making progress when I went from the triangle roof and up until the flat one with the edges. I was like, well, that was cool.
Like the rhombus. That goes that way.
I thought that was progress, but apparently people can draw very well, and I'm not that person. And one of my friends, I just put on Twitter, I was like, can anyone do me a logo? And people want so much money for that stuff. Like,
yeah,
I was like, somebody tweet, like they just go, there's literally people in companies on there that are on Twitter and they just type graphic every 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And if they see someone's tweeted about, do you want a graphic? They instantly DM you. And they wanted like 300 quid for a logo. Yeah. And I was like, don't worry, mate. I was like, don't worry. And then a friend from Gloucester, Oni, he messaged me. He was like, what do you want? I was like, I've got this idea in my head and I want it like this. And I kind of know what I want, but I don't know how to do it. And he was like, leave it with me. He charged me 20 quid.
Legend. That's amazing.
For 3 logos, like the 2 in the circle and the big one. And I was like, it's not what you know, is who you know.
What an absolute hero. Have you ever had guests? I know yours is very local at the moment.
Yes.
But have you ever reached out to anybody and like for an interview and they've gone, yeah, if you pay me so much?
We've not had anybody try and charge us, which is good. And we are, like I said, we didn't want to copy what the Sapling podcast was doing, but we kind of want to do a little bit more where we talk to them about what they're doing, because I kind of like to promote them a bit more, especially if they're in a local band. So we've condensed the chat about bands and albums, and we've kind of opened up a maybe 20% for what they're doing and who they are and what they're about.
Amazing.
Just because I think they're like local bands are interesting. Like every scene's different in every part of the country. Like Jamie grew up in Birmingham. Like he probably went to see 1 or 2 local bands. I was going to Cardiff. There were local bands in Cardiff. Like that became huge because it was a big scene. Birmingham was a big scene. There are good bands out there, but we are in the process of talking to 1 or 2 people in much bigger bands.
Which look forward to seeing that.
The Devil Wears Prada. I'm just saying.
Very nice.
But we're all right doing. I like chatting to mates, and I like chatting, like finding out things I didn't know about friends and what records I listen to, and like you said, like the funny ones are the ones where it's your really close mate, and you can just chat like you normally would in the pub over a pint.
It's fucking brilliant.
And I'm like, they are funny episodes. Like the one with Chris from I the Lion is still, it was only episode 3 and we still didn't really know what we were doing. I still think that's fucking comedy gold.
It is hilarious. That's a really good episode as well.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the Weldon episode earlier. Really enjoyed that. Yeah.
That was amazing. It's funny, but it's still talking about music. It's still relevant.
Exactly. And again, there goes that ambassador for the local scene, because you're getting local bands on again, people that run venues, people that work at festivals, producers, you get actual local artists as well. It's absolutely, I think it's a great idea. I think it's going from strength to strength. I'm really enjoying it.
Thank you very much.
No worries.
Appreciate it.
Beautiful. Tom, have you got any more questions before we start wrapping up?
Is there anybody you would really love to have on the show? Have you got like a bucket list of like? It's almost like you'll never get them, but if you did, like, who would it be?
I mean, I can only sort of say people that I find interesting or funny. Charlie Simpson from Busted. I know from listening to his interviews. I've met him. He signed one of my Busted vinyls. I know he's super interesting. He's funny. He loves a drink, and we only met once for like 20 minutes, but he was really interested to know about me, and he was such a nice guy. Like, I would love to have a proper conversation with him about music, because his favorite band is my favorite band, which is Deftones. So that would be sick. I would love him on if he's listening. I don't know if he's a Chronicles follower.
If he is, let us know.
Yeah, if you are, Charlie, we want you. I know I've mentioned her name a few times, but Dua Lipa's queen, isn't she? Never going to happen. Like, that's out of the question. But there are, like, through DJ, and there are, celebrities that I've met that, like, who I just think would be super interesting, like Miss Dynamite. She was literally
I haven't heard in a long time.
She was one of the nicest people I've ever met, and she's just amazing. Like, I did not expect what I got from her, and just a wonderful, wonderful person. This was at a festival, there was a uni ball in Aberystwyth, which me and Clive went to, and we had dinner with Top Loader. And they were amazing. They were chatting to us like we were their best mates, and we had pints over lunch in a pub.
Incredible.
That's awesome.
And then, because the promoters of the festival, it's not a festival, the uni ball, they were like, "Oh, you're artists. We've got no catering, but we've paid for your lunch in this pub." And we just happened to walk in at the same time Top Loader did, and they put us on the same table.
Amazing.
So we were
awesome.
just drinking lager, and they were like, "This is the menu." And we had pies or burgers and really nice pub food, like spot on. Aberystwyth's bare miles to get to, but it was a wonderful uni. And we met Top Loader and Miss Dynamite. That was amazing. Also, I think the other guy would be Jesse from the Eagles of Death Metal. Just because I know he's a nice guy. We met him at Download. Joe Green played there with Empire, and we just managed to blag ourselves backstage. And we were wandering around, and we met one of the girls that we know that does photography for some of the bands. And then Jesse from Eagles of Death Metal walked past, and Joe was like, "Hi, dude." And he was like, "You're right, guys." And for some reason, neither of us had our phones on us.
What?
How typical.
So we had to, Jesse grabbed us both. I think he gave us drinks. And we're like, he'd finished doing media. His manager was like, "What are you doing now?" And he was like, "I'm going with these guys." And he was like, "We've got to get a picture. We've got to get a picture." And we ran around for like 5-10 minutes trying to find someone with a phone or something. And we had our picture taken. And he was just so happy to like just chat about absolutely fucking nothing. But to not be in that whole, like, your band's on in 2 hours, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. He was like, I just want to do human things and not be told what to do.
Yeah.
And he was lovely. He was really nice. So I guess the people that I would love to have on are the people I know would be a really interesting conversation, and he'd be up there. And Eagles of Death Metal are amazing anyway.
Awesome.
Right, before we get out of here, we like to play a little game. It's called the Quick Fire Round. We launch 5 questions at you. You answer them as quick as possible. It is as simple as that. Are you ready?
Can't wait.
Ready? Favorite pizza topping?
Pineapple.
With cheese or without?
Without cheese. I don't do cheese.
It doesn't need cheese.
All the meat and a bit of pineapple.
I was hoping this had changed from over the years.
No.
Your first celebrity crush?
Baby Spice.
How do you take your tea or coffee?
I have coffee, a little bit of milk, 2 sugar.
Who would play you in the movie of your life?
Tom Cruise, because he's pretty short as well.
Just, to doing all those stunts.
Either that or David Draymond, because he's got no hair like I have. So
works. And the last one, piece of advice that you could give to young Damien Batchelor many, many years ago.
Start listening to pop music sooner.
Great.
It might be shit, but just get into it because it's good.
Just tolerate it. It will help you later.
Tolerate it. Listen to more than just Linkin Park. Like, get into every type of music. Because otherwise you will eventually. Or I guess my other answer, if I could change it, would just be like grow some balls and try and get into music a bit at a younger age. Because I think if I was DJing at 18, 19, I don't know where I'd be now.
Nice.
Wonderful. Right, before we get out of here, any plugs, social medias, websites, whatever you want people to check out?
I don't really plug myself on social media as a DJ. Obviously, I've got a residency, which I can't wait to get back to. Just go and follow some local bands that I've mentioned. And if you're interested to listen to me talk about music with other people, then you can go on to Instagram, search for the Gatefold Gateway. And also, which I think is better, is if you go onto Spotify and search for the Gatefold Gateway songs. Every single band and artist and track we talk about gets chucked into a playlist. And it's becoming like the most eclectic playlist I've ever created. There is everything on there. And it's amazing. It's like 140 tracks at the moment. Just press shuffle. So Spotify, Gatefold Gateway, the songs. And yeah, the podcast is available everywhere on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, other places. I don't think anyone else uses other places to listen to podcasts, but yeah, the Gatefold Gateway. We've got 17 episodes out. They are mostly local people, which we've talked about. But if you like music and you want to listen to people talk about music,
kind of some good stories. Exactly.
And it's fun.
Great stories. Yeah.
Fun
exactly.
chat.
And where can people find you on Twitch? Your DJ?
So my Twitch is DJ Damo 666, I think. Unfortunately, because I'm now outside at the Two Pigs doing a little bit of DJing every weekend, the Twitch has kind of slowed right down, and I've not done it for a few weeks. But who knows? I might play some Football Manager.
Fucking hell.
I've done it once, honestly. I've done it. I'll play Football Manager and talking to a microphone about Paul Pogba. I don't care.
Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
If that's what people want, like, there are people that play Football Manager on Twitch.
I've just never understood people watching video games.
I love watching my friend play Grand Theft Auto, though. So there are some good Twitchers out there.
Fair enough. Damo, this has been amazing, mate. I've really enjoyed this.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on. It was great fun.
Yeah, appreciate it, bro. Thank you.
You are very welcome. I really hope that, I guess I can sort of mention it to other people who are listening. Like, we've got some plans for you guys to come onto our podcast in the future, but I really want to do it live. We've done one live recording a couple of weeks ago, which was weird because we were allowed in gardens, and we went to someone's house and sat in their garden, and we recorded it, which was weird. I wasn't sure how I felt about it, but it was nice. It was really nice. And I really want that to become the norm.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to do it live with you, so hopefully we can make that happen.
Yeah, maybe put it on Twitch.
Let's do it. Fuck
Or
it.
not.
Yeah.
Wonderful. This has been amazing. Thank you so much, my friend.
No problem. Cheers, guys.
Take
See
care.
you
of
later.
yourselves.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.